So brethren, that brings us to the end of the message on the Ruach HaKodesh. But I did say last week that I wanted to just share a few minutes with you and explain to you how modern science has actually discovered Yehovah. Now this is quite fascinating, so I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to explain to you a little bit about quantum. Now, I make you work in this assembly because if you remember, we had you doing maths a few weeks ago. We had you trying to remember the concept of infinity from your high school days. Well, now we're going to talk about quantum physics. So the first thing we need to do is understand what is quantum physics. Well, there's a gentleman called Dr. Robert Jastrow, and he was the first chairman of the NASA Lunar Exploration Center, and he caused a stir because he made this statement. Now we see how the astronomical evidence supports the biblical view of the origin of the world. The details differ, but the essential elements in the astronomical and biblical accounts of Genesis are the same. The chain of events leading to man commenced suddenly and sharply at a definite moment in time, in a flash of light and energy. And in the world of cosmic physics or cosmology, they call that point the singularity. And if you ask them, okay, what is the singularity? They say it's the beginning of all things. So, well, where did that come from? And then they sort of look a bit sheepish because they don't know. So it's a guess. So it's an act of faith that the scientists believe in the singularity. Now, for Bible believers, as Bible literalists, we can hold exactly true to that statement. The chain of events leading to man commenced suddenly and sharply at a definite moment in time, in a flash of light and energy. Can we all agree to that? Is that a true statement? Is that a statement that we agree as Bible believers? Absolutely. And the Mighty One said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So the scripture tells us exactly how science operates. Yehovah was the executive authority that sudden sharp flash of light and energy that started creation came from the instruction of Yehovah. Okay? There is no contradiction between Yehovah and the Bible. There's no contradiction between Yehovah's account of creation and the evidence of science. But there is a problem with science because they try and make science teach what is not there. And there's a reason for that. This is the same gentleman who continued in that statement. The scientist who has lived by his faith. Now, I thought it was religious people that had faith. The scientists have just as much faith. They cannot go against the doctrinal statements of the day, otherwise they won't get their grants, they won't get their funding, they won't get the glory they want from their establishment. So scientists live by faith just as much as any other religion, any member of any other religion. The science is their religion. Look what it says. For the scientist who has lived by his faith in the power of reason, the story ends like a bad dream. He has scaled the mountain of ignorance. He is about to conquer the highest peak. And as he pulls himself over the final rock, he is greeted by a band of theologians who have been sitting there for centuries. Okay? Science has massive contradictions in the account of the creation. It has massive contradictions in Darwin's theory of evolution. It has massive contradictions in how science tells us the creation happened. But they paper over the cracks because of their faith. They cannot accept that there is a divine being. Whereas we can accept that there is a divine being, and then we can see where science gives us the science gives us the evidence that justifies what Yehovah tells us. And this is one of the most fascinating things. In modern science, there's a statement called the zero-point field. This is part of quantum physics, okay? Now, the sort of physics that you and I did at school was called Newtonian physics. It was things like, I don't know if you ever run a ball bearing and hit another ball bearing and things bounced off each other, and we talked about mass and energy and velocity. That's Newtonian physics, and it works for what's called massive bodies. Anything where you can measure the mass, the laws of Newtonian physics apply. But when you get down to subatomic particles, that's particles that are smaller than an atom, the laws of Newtonian physics apparently don't apply. There are all sorts of strange things happen. And the biggest one that's confused scientists is this thing that these subatomic particles seem to exist in multiple states at the same time. And it's only when you observe them do they actually fix in any given state. That's why it's called quantum, because they float in various energy states. And so the scientists said we need a baseline from which we can measure all these different energy states, the foundation of which all these different energies can be measured against. So they came up with this thing called the 0-point field. And the way they define the 0-point field is this field provides all the energy in the universe. It's the foundation of all the universe. Everything comes from this field. And all the information in the universe is stored in this field. Now that's the scientific model of the 0-point field. And that helps them make quantum physics and Newtonian physics make sense together. They can join the two different disciplines because they have this concept of the 0-point field. Now, look at those three statements and then think about what we know about YHWH. YHWH is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. We're told that in the scripture. What does that mean? He's all-powerful. All the power in the universe is with YHWH. Omnipresent. He is present everywhere. He becomes the foundation of the universe. And omniscient. He knows everything. So what the scientists have said, this 0-point field theory or concept is actually the sustaining power of YHWH that is needed for all of creation to exist. And what is YHWH? YHWH is spirit. So what the scientists have come up with to make the laws of science work is the understanding of the Ruach HaKodesh. How the Ruach HaKodesh, the power from YHWH, holds everything together. And that's the way they've tried to join it together. And they don't even know that they are talking about the spirit of YHWH. But that's the only way they can get physics to work. And that is amazing, brethren.